This year has seen a ton of new games landing onto Xbox Game Pass, and yes, although we did have those horrid price increases, the amount of games have been pretty decent for this year. I've made a video actually covering the best open world games towards the start of this year, but there have been a ton of games added since then and have also left the service. So today, this is a massive update to the 20 best open world games on Xbox Game Pass, and let's just dive right into it. You may be aware, but I am a massive fan of racing games. It's quite apparent, especially as I'm someone who's got all the achievements in both Forza Horizon 4 and also 5, and I practically have all of the achievements in every single Crew game. Well, in some good news, the Crew Motorfest landed onto Xbox Game Pass this November, and for me is an easy recommendation as Ubisoft essentially made their own style of Forza Horizon. This one actually centers around a fictional Hawaii though, and has you journeying across a massive world where you can pilot both planes, drive cars, and even rev on motorbikes. For me, the amount of content they had already right out the gate is utterly phenomenal, and Ubisoft have done a very great job of adding so much more free DLC as time has gone on. For me, this is just such an easy recommendation, especially if you're a racing fan. Now, if you're someone who's a fan of Souls-like games but wants something set in an open world, then Ashen is a must-play. This open world action RPG takes everything that we loved about games like Dark Souls, with its tight combat, stamina-based fights, and even deep lore, but then added a brand new unique cooperative twist to it. Instead of a traditional multiplayer system, the game seamlessly introduces real-world players into your world as nameless wanderers, and they often aid you in battles or exploration without direct voice chat or even interaction. Exploration is also a huge part of the overall experience of Ashen, with mystical ruins, eerie landscapes, and lore-rich dungeons just waiting to be uncovered. I personally really love the mystery and immersion of this game. This sort of feeling of isolation mixed with the occasional help from a silent ally makes every journey feel totally unforgettable. If you enjoy challenging yet very fair combat with an expansive world for exploration and a beautifully crafted world in general, then Ashen is a must-play with your Game Pass subscription. From the creative minds over at Insomniac, the same studio behind the likes of Spider-Man and Ratchet & Clank, came an exceptional and action-packed adventure. As you might expect from this prestigious developer, Sunset Overdrive is absolutely oozing with so much style and, most importantly, fun gameplay. From its remarkably amusing and over-the-top narrative to its hyper-colourful art style, it's really hard not to have a massive grin on your face when you're playing this one. After all, a new energy drink basically causes people to turn into zombies, and you'll have to figure out how to save the day, all whilst causing as much chaos as you can. During gameplay then, you will be zipping, dashing, grinding, and wall running through Sunset City thanks to its very slick and satisfying movement mechanics. Seriously, you definitely don't want to miss out on one of the best Xbox open world games, and it's arguably one of the best open world games of all time, and is easily one of the best Xbox exclusives to this day. One of the largest Xbox releases of this entire year just has to be The Outer Worlds 2, and Obsidian really did nail the sequel as it's better than the original in most ways here. It really doesn't try to rewrite Obsidian's RPG playbook though, but it's yet another strong refinement with smoother combat, diabolically compelling buildcraft and loot, alongside a story that immediately made me want to start again to see alternative outcomes. The sluggish first act and lack of enemy variety does make it a bit of slog at times, but once its story of political intrigue kicks in and the new flaws and perk system gets its claws into you, it can actually be quite hard to put down. All of these improvements put The Outer Worlds 2 much closer to being the Fallout New Vegas successor we already hoped for, and it's definitely worth playing as soon as possible. If you're someone who loves the idea of managing a group of survivors in a zombie apocalypse, then State of Decay 2 really is the game for you. This open world survival game blends base building, resource management, and tense zombie combat, creating an immersive experience that evolves as you play. What really did set State of Decay 2 apart though is its emphasis on its community. Every survivor has their own unique skills, strengths, and also weaknesses, and losing a very key member of your team can drastically impact your group. You'll be scavenging for supplies, fortifying your base, and making some very difficult decisions that shape your settlement. Whether you go at it alone or want to team up with your friends in the court modes, every session here brings so many new challenges and surprises, making it feel genuinely rewarding. With State of Decay 3 also potentially releasing within the next year, it's certainly worth diving into this awesome zombie experience. Shadow of War is one of those rare games that had a very tumultuous launch, but then it got turned around hard and is now one of the best Lord of the Rings games of the past decade. The real magic in this one isn't just the battles or the fort assaults though, it's the Nemesis system, and I just hate that we'll probably never see this great system ever again. To give you an idea, every orc you run into isn't just another enemy, they're practically a character in your own personal storyline. They will hold grudges against you, they'll also trash talk you after beating you, and they then come back stronger if you do slip up. On top of that, the open world is utterly gorgeous, the combat hits incredibly hard, and the whole experience feels like it was built to let you live out your own power fantasy that Tolkien never wrote. Look, I'm just a huge Lord of the Rings nerd, and if a game has Middle-earth in the title, I'm probably gonna go 100% it. But unlike the absolute disaster that was Gollum, Shadow of War actually deserves to be played right now. What started as an ambitious space exploration game has now evolved into one of the most feature-rich survival experiences that's available on Xbox Game Pass to this day. No Man's Sky lets you explore a massive procedurally generated universe filled with so many unique planets, alien wildlife, and so many dangerous biomes. For me, I just love the game's base building and fleet management aspects, and I've spent way too many times playing this game solely for that aspect alone. It allows you to essentially construct planetary colonies, recruit your own alien NPCs, and even command a fleet of star freighters. There is a ton of content as well for you to dive into if you've never played No Man's Sky before, and they still keep adding so many free updates on a constant basis. It's completely changed to the absolutely shambolic mess it was at launch, and it's now considered one of the best spacefaring games of all time. Ubisoft took a very big swing by bringing us back to their traditional roots with Assassin's Creed Mirage, and it pays off pretty beautifully. Baghdad was utterly fantastic, as it's alive, vibrant, and dense with so much detail, from rooftops that stretch endlessly into parkour playgrounds, while back alleys are perfect hiding spots for a quick escape, and it really does remind me of the likes of AC Revelations in the best way possible. This isn't the bloated RPG style of the games like Odyssey or even Valhalla, and instead Mirage recaptures the tight stealth and assassination loop that made the original games so beloved. Watching a carefully planned kill unfold is still one of the most satisfying feelings in all of gaming, and I was so glad that Ubisoft went back to this style. They recently also added a pretty sizable DLC which was free and added in way more content, and it's definitely worth diving into. You won't regret it, especially if you're a fan of those older AC games. Talking of things you won't regret, please do hit that subscribe button down below, as I do upload awesome Xbox content on a daily basis. We are so close now to 80,000 subscribers by the end of 2025, and I would love you to join our incredible Xbox community. I also do want to know, what video would you like to see next? And if you want to see more stuff like reviews, more news content, or other Game Pass videos, as it really sort of helps me gauging what you guys want to see, especially here on the channel. Now with that, let's just dive back into the open world games you need to play right now on Xbox Game Pass. What I loved about Eternal Strands is as it feels like a fusion of all the best modern action-adventure game trends, and it all sort of put it into one cohesive package. So picture a fantasy world where climbing, grappling, and elemental powers lets you interact with environments in different wild ways, and then it pits you essentially against towering physics-driven bosses that look utterly incredible. It's kind of a part Shadow of the Colossus, part open-world exploration, and then part chaotic elemental sandbox. Fights in this instance aren't just about swinging a generic sword, instead they're about using your elemental abilities like fire, ice, and even terrain itself to gain the upper hand. The sheer creativity in this one and how you tackle your different encounters really makes it stand out on the surface, and I really personally enjoyed the story and also the artistic design they really took with this one. I was so glad to play Eternal Strands, and it's such an awesome first game for such a new talented development team. Xbox Game Pass is now home to every single Fallout game, so you can ultimately take your own pick here when it comes to open worlds, but for me today I really wanted to highlight Fallout 76, especially as it just dropped one of its largest content updates since their massive overhaul many years back now. Of course, you're most likely to know what Fallout consists of these days, and yes, it does have you venturing across the world of Appalachia as you take on different quests, fight the grotesque mutants and other critters out there, and even take part in some massive world events. For me, they basically nailed the gameplay loop of this one, and I was just so happy when they even added voiced NPCs, because man, that original launch just makes me shudder. There is a ton of content and you don't need to pay for any of the DLC either, but yeah, this is such a great open world Fallout that everyone needs to experience. Like Fallout, there are loads of Far Cry games which are also available on Xbox Game Pass, and it can also be very hard to narrow down which is the best one to play. Rather than going full Jurassic Park though, they kept things pretty grounded with Far Cry Primal, and it's one of my favourite games on the service. This one includes no dinosaurs, it's just creatures that actually could have existed at this time period. Your arsenal is basically what a caveman would have glued together: a bow, some spears, a club, and pretty much that's about it. Considering this is the same franchise that had everything from post-apocalyptic chaos to synthwave fever dreams, the game is pretty wild, a wild curveball, and somehow it just totally worked. Technically, yes, it uses the Far Cry 4 map as a base, but they reworked it so heavily that you'd never know unless someone told you. Everything about the game still screams Far Cry, and although the story does take a bit of a backseat, what is there is surprisingly effective for how simple this one is. Hogwarts Legacy was a pretty notable addition to Xbox Game Pass this year, but I won't lie, it did kind of get overshadowed of course by the awful price hikes as it was added at the same time as this news. Well, if you want to dive into the wizarding world with easily one of the best and most accurate open world games ever, then this is easily one to play and download right now. You basically make your own witch or wizard and then go to class, learn spells, take on enemies, and then get sucked into a story which does get pretty good as time goes on. It is set many years before the film, so you won't really see any household names here, but you will hear some name drops here and there that I mentioned in the films before. I do love everything about this one, from the broom flying, the combat is surprisingly great, and yeah, it's just so accurate and what I really wanted from a Hogwarts game in 2025. Obsidian is having a really great year, and after the release of Avowed all the way back in February, the team also delivered us Grounded 2, and has been a very big hit amongst many fans out there. Of course, Grounded 2 is only in its early access form right now, but the first game launched in exactly the same way, and was a pretty compelling experience from day one. I've actually personally not had much chance to dip my toes into this one as of yet, as there's been so many games for me to review and play this year, but I know it's been a greatly praised experience. From looking into this one a little bit further, the story, exploration, and RPG mechanics have all been enlarged in a very big way, and the addition of stuff like mountable insect pets is exactly as much of a game changer as I hoped it would be. There's certainly a lot of room for Grounded 2 to grow within its early access, including the likes of enemy variety, some more memorable areas, a better base building system overall, and especially its technical performance. But as incomplete as it is at the moment, Obsidian has another special gem on their hands. Going back to Oblivion after so many years felt utterly surreal earlier this year, and the fact they shadow dropped it is kind of still mind-blowing to be honest. This one is like returning home to find it rebuilt from the ground up, and it's totally incredible. The remaster doesn't just polish the visuals, it actually rejuvenates the entire experience while still keeping the odd bugs and quirks that give us such a good time all the way back in 2006. Cyrodiil looks stunning, with modern lighting and texture work that somehow still preserves that warm, nostalgic glow. What really blew my mind though is how Virtuous Studios managed to modernise the gameplay without losing that old school soul. I was constantly smiling like it's 2006 again, as the music, the voices, that classic charm, it's still here, alongside all of those bugs as well. I know the performance was woeful on its launch, but I know it's still not the best, although it has certainly improved, but it's definitely worth playing if you do get the chance. Medieval Dynasty starts with you with nothing more than a patch of land, a handful of tools, and the promise that you can build something everlasting. It's part survival sim, part city builder, and part life simulator, but it was also wrapped up in a historically grounded medieval setting. In this instance, seasons will pass, harvests will then grow and fail, and you're always balancing immediate needs with long-term planning. One day you will be chopping wood to keep warm throughout the winter, and the next you're arranging trade deals with neighbouring villages. What I really enjoyed most about this one is just how it blends personal story with generational progress, as you can see your very small settlement evolve into a thriving community over so much time. That sort of slow and steady satisfaction of building something from nothing is at the heart of the overall experience, and by the time you look up from the work, you realise years in-game and potentially maybe out of it if you've been playing it for that long have absolutely flown by. It's one of the most underrated experiences that I still see on Xbox Game Pass to this day, and the world as well is pretty gorgeous. Coming out of nowhere and instantly establishing itself as one of Game Pass's best open world games, Palworld is almost unbelievably good, especially considering it's still within its game preview stage. Pocket Pair really aimed for the stars with this one by delivering a project that on paper appears to spread itself way too thin and offer any real depth in one field. However, and somehow, the 2024 game comes together to create a surprisingly cohesive experience. Now, this is still an early access release as a work in progress, so anyone who jumps into it should expect to encounter a few bugs here and there and some issues along the way. Palworld though runs pretty well for this type of release, and getting a Pokemon style experience where you send your pals to work for you and then take off some massive creatures of guns is just still so much fun. We have some great content that has arrived this year alone for free, and there will be even more heading into 2026. What really made Bannerlord so addictive to me wasn't just the massive open world it chucks you into, but it's how that world reacts to everything that you do. You will start off as a lone wanderer, broke and then armed with the world's saddest sword, but the game never stops you from chasing power from right out of the gates. You will win stuff like tournaments, assemble a warband, flip trade routes for profit, or swear loyalty to a kingdom and climb that political ladder. Before long, you're commanding armies in chaotic real-time battles and taking part in sieges that feel unscripted and totally cinematic. I will say no two playthroughs of this one I've ever played have ever involved it the same way, and it's such a great and unique experience on Xbox Game Pass. This next one actually got added to Xbox Game Pass towards the start of this year, but went heavily under the radar for many out there. In Overthrown, you're not just a ruler, you are a ruler with a crown of ancient soul-stealing power. And yes, it gets pretty wild. This unique blend of kingdom building, survival, and action tasks you with creating a thriving civilization in the face of constant threats. Using your crown's magical abilities, you'll build stuff like structures, manage your resources, and then recruit your own followers. But it's not all about sort of peaceful expansion, as mutants, bandits, and rival rulers will really test your resolve. Its sandbox mechanics really let you experiment freely though, whether that's turning forest into lumber mills or unleashing monster nests on enemy camps. It's got loads of quirky humor and flexible gameplay, and honestly, Overthrown is such a fresh take on the survivor builder genre. Whilst most open world games really push you towards conflict, Creatures of Ava does the exact opposite, and it actually encourages your curiosity and compassion without any combat at all. The world in this one is bursting with beautiful creatures and alien landscapes, but everything is slowly dying from a spreading corruption. Instead of fighting the wildlife, you will actually learn how they behave, help them heal, and then discover how each species fits into that exact ecosystem. Every biome in this instance introduces new puzzles and environmental challenges, and the more you explore this one, the more the game actually rewards your patience over aggression. It's more of a peaceful and cozy adventure where the big payoffs do come from restoring life and not destroying it. If you're tired of open worlds filled with constant danger and attacks from enemies, then Ava's softer and more cozy approach is certainly refreshing. Atomfall was an absolute delight when it landed on the Game Pass earlier this year, and it really drew me in with its eerie vibe before even taking a single step outside the doorstep. The setting looks like a sleepy 1950s British countryside, but everything feels entirely off get-go. It's a sort of strange quarantined zone where there's lots of mutated vegetation and government agents lurking around every corner, and it sort of turns that quiet landscape into a slow burn mystery. The game actually mixes a lot of survival mechanics with sort of exploration elements, pushing you to dig deeper through abandoned houses and then piece together clues and figure out why this region spiraled into radioactive chaos. Combat is included within the game, and although it's not the best I've ever experienced, that unsettling atmosphere is sort of the best element here. Every area hints at stories the game isn't directly telling you, and uncovering the truth becomes more compelling than any mission marker. You definitely have to delve deeper into this one, as there's sort of no way markers and no clues, so it's all about sort of delving into that environmental storytelling. It's one game that I heavily recommend you try out, as it's sort of a British Fallout, but with loads more uncovering to do. What open world is your favourite on Xbox Game Pass? And are there any games you would like to see come to the service in 2026? You'll have to let me know, and let's just have a conversation about it down below. Do make sure as well to smash that like button if you enjoyed this video, and do subscribe for more Xbox content on a daily basis. Thanks so much again for watching, and if you want to check out some more awesome Xbox content, check out the video on screen now, as I recently covered some brand new game announcements which did come to Xbox and Game Pass over this past couple of weeks.